What do you call an anti-vax nanny? Mrs. Doubtfeiser. Welcome to Shave&Butcher. It's election day in Sweden today. Election for parliament happens every 4 years. And today is the day, so we're doing an all Swedish shave today. MK31 from CV Helgestund in Eskilstuna. The soap is made not too far away, actually a bit south of Eskilstuna. This is Grönlycka's, tobacco and bay leaf. Aftershave will be from Matti Lindholm. This is DK's Arctic Freeze. Is it DK's Arctic Freeze? No, this is Toxic Waste, but it's also very rich with menthol. That's why I confused them. The brush is a pretty cool one. Look at that. It's a round thing. It's a badger knot, thick as hell. That's probably from China. But the brush is made in Sweden. It's Laugar of Sweden. This is birch, Swedish birch, and that's it. Let's get cracking. Yeah, so Sweden is a constitutional monarchy. So we have a king, but he has no power. So this is a non. So it's got aloe vera and witch hazel and too small to read. It's a vegan sort of soap with lots of good stuff in it. I think it's glycerin partially. Ingredients, let's see if we can read. Aloe vera juice, shea butter, sodium, other kinds of butters. Really hard to read. Grönlycka, green happiness. So this brush eats a lot of lather, so it's important to load heavily. Fortunately, I have a lot of soap, so I can afford to load heavily. Haven't used this soap in quite some time. The lady who runs Grönlycka is a very cool lady. Karina, I've met her, made an interview with her. There's an early video of that. Oh, that was almost 4 years ago. Three and a half years ago. Yeah, so election day. Every 4 years we vote people into the parliament, and it's the parliament who actually makes decisions. Well, the parliament makes the laws and the government decides a lot of other stuff. So it's a big day, it's a proud day. I think it's important to remember that people fought for the right to vote. Most recently, 100 years ago, women fought for the right to vote, and now they're allowed to since, about 100 years. And it's a big day, because not all the peoples in the world who actually get to vote or live in a country where you have a system where it actually counts what you vote, who you vote for. So I think it's important to vote. I don't care what people vote for. Well, I do, because I have preferences, but I tell people that I think they should vote, even if they vote for a party that's opposing or in opposition to whoever I vote for. I think vote is the most important thing. We take it very, very lightly, this democracy, and I hear people say, clever people in Sweden and elsewhere, made a mess, that democracy is a bit overrated perhaps. Well, the alternative is It's not very good. I love democracy. I think democracy is great. I love politics. I don't always appreciate politicians, but you know, most of the time I do, because they try pretty hard as well. Okay, here we go. Rock and roll, as Frank would have said. So there's election every 4 years, whether you want it or not. And it's the, oh God, is it this, what is it today? The second Sunday of September. Yeah, because it's the 10th, that's got to be it. Every 4 years, election. So right now we have 8 parties in parliament. Which is a record. It's looking like all 8 of them are going to survive. You need 4% of the votes in the country to get in. And we have a system where, I don't know it fully, but unlike the UK and the US, for example, our constituencies matter, but you count the percentage on a national level when it comes to voting people into parliament, and then there's a distribution system that, you know, depends on who voted what where. So all 8 are looking to survive, and they've kind of formed alliances. And those are a bit different this year than last year. So just briefly on the political parties, and by the way, it's looking like a dead race. Dead race, is that Swedish? You know, very even between the 2 groups. So on the left, there's the former Communist Party, who are now not communist anymore, although a lot of people, they were when most of the politicians that worked for that party joined. But now we're not communists anymore. Okay. On the other side, there's they're called the Left Party. They used to be called the Left Communist Party. And on the other side is the extreme right party that was formed essentially by fascists and active racists and Nazis. Not entirely, but a pretty big group had those preferences. Now, a lot of washing up later, and now they're simply an extreme right-wing party with one dominant thought, and that is that if you reduce immigration and non-Swedish elements in the culture, you'll solve all the problems. So former communist and, you know, this kind of nationalist, racist, romanticist on the other side. Okay, I'm being more outspoken than I was planning on. And then on the other left side is the Green Party, who it's a one topic party to start with. They're gradually trying to venture into having opinions about other things than climate and the environment, but that never works. So they're sort of back to basics, and we can't live like this anymore. We have to make sacrifices. You know, let's all live in caves. I'm exaggerating grossly, of course. But they're to the left. And then there's the Socialist Party, who've been in power forever, because their main, I think they were instrumental working with the unions to get vacation for workers, and not having to work in the more than 40 hours a week, that sort of thing. So I'm sure they were important historically. Now their policy is essentially to stay in power, so they wouldn't do anything, but they would do a lot of things to stay in power, and they've been quite successful there. I mean, policy is left, so it's not like, but they've changed from being very friendly towards immigration to being dead against immigration. They've changed a lot of policies, and it's interesting. And I leave the fourth one a bit, but on the other side, again, on the right side, are two conservative parties, the moderates, who've always been, this are sort of Tory party. They've almost always been dominant, or the biggest party to the right. They're looking like they're going to be smaller than the Sweden Democrats, whom I talked about before. And they've come full circle from venturing into, humanity issues and stuff, and now they're back to being a traditional right-wing party. They've adopted a lot of the policies of the Sweden Democrat Party, so which one do you vote for doesn't really matter, and they're sort of trying to copy paste what is very popular on the right side, and it's not really working. And then you have the Christian Conservative Party, who's pretty much like the extreme right party, only with a female touch. So it's like extreme right for women, if you will. And then you have two liberal parties in the middle. Well, left and right is tricky, because the two of them are extreme in terms of low taxes and small government and that sort of thing, at least low taxes. But where they differ is, which gang they choose. So quite very similar parties, and people ask, should there be two of them? Well, or is one enough? And traditionally one would have been enough. Now they're sort of equal size, more or less. So one's choosing the gang to the right, one's choosing the gang to the left. And both parties are very divided about this internally. And we'll see what happens after the election results come in. There's a lot of, I would never do this, I would never do that. But at the end of the day, I don't know. We'll have to see. But sort of liberal, low tax, traditionally pretty positive towards immigration, I guess. And I think they still are. They're just exaggerating the difference between themselves, which is pretty small. So no one really cares about those two parties apart from the people who vote for them. And of course, there will be some strategic voting for either of those parties if it appears to be smaller than 4%. So you need to beef them up to make sure they get into the parliament. But yeah, that's pretty much it. Those are the 8 parties. So that came across as being a bit negative. I didn't quite intend that. It's more that I want to appear comedian. I have a lot of respect for politicians and for the political system, if you will. So it'll be fun. I'm not going to tell you who I'm voting for. And it seems in my family we're 4, and I'm pretty sure if the others will vote for what they said they would vote for, it's 4 different parties, which is quite interesting. So no one's forcing anyone to do anything. So cool. So happy election day, all you Swedes out there. Go vote, and if you're in other countries, if you get the chance to vote and you're in a system where your vote actually matters, I suggest you go vote. It's important. It can be taken away from you, that right, one day. You never know. Thanks for watching an all Swedish shave today. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday and stay sharp.